chat. Well, good morning, everybody. Come and join us as we sing. Can we wait? Yes, we're going to wait, but just know that you're going to get up and you're going to sing with us. Okay, so we're going to sing Spirit of Life, which is 123, but it's also, lyrics are up here.
Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. We're glad to have you with us this morning. We're a very welcoming congregation, and we appreciate your unique beliefs, lifestyles, experiences, and backgrounds. And if you're one of our long-term members or are here for the first time today, we welcome you. We're very grateful that you are with us this morning. We're also grateful to those who are streaming with us this morning. We welcome you as well. It is going to be my pleasure this morning to welcome our guest speaker, Mery Smith. I'm looking forward to her poetry and insights and knowledge, and I will introduce her in more depth later in the service. You will notice that our unity candle is lit at the front of the church this morning. It's lit in the honor of the light and life of our longtime church member, Donna Borden Rhodes. Donna passed away early Monday morning this week. During her more than 55 years as a member, Donna was a regular face and voice in our church choir, but also worked diligently behind the scenes on our board of trustees, our operations team, our finance team, our endowment team, and so much more. We'll miss her, and we'll always remember her with great appreciation, and we are especially thinking of her family today. At this time, Lynn, you have an announcement?
Good morning. Isn't it so fun to see the choir? As we move into April, it's time for our annual generosity campaign. This is our opportunity to reflect on what brings you here, the theme of this year's campaign, inspired by the beautiful song by Sarah Thompson. Next Sunday, after our second service, our social activities team, Michelle Atwood and Lynn Diddens, are hosting a special luncheon to kick things off. Lunch will be provided, and donations will be gladly accepted. We hope you'll join us. This year, we have an exciting opportunity. Tom and Mary Mosier have generously offered to match the basket. So every dollar raised at the luncheon will be doubled and go directly into our church's operations fund. Pledge forms are already available online. They look like this. So if you click on the pledge form or generosity campaign, you'll see that on our website. And hard copies will be available here at the luncheon next week. Be sure to check out our paper tree on the kiosk in the back in the Friendship Hall. Right now, its branches are completely bare, but for every pledge that comes in, we'll add a leaf and watch our generosity bring that tree to life. So let's come together and celebrate what this community means to us and step into spring with a spirit of abundance. Thanks.
So right now, let's take a few moments just to say hello to one another. Say hello to someone you haven't met before. Take a couple moments to greet each other. Thank you. We'll have more time for a good conversation and coffee after the service, so please join us then. We now turn from our informal greeting of one another to formally begin our service by the lighting of our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and solidarity, of our openness and inclusion, of our community and our individual uniquenesses. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt where it's been found. And Mary will provide our opening reflection this morning.
This poem is called Yes, We Can Talk by Mark Nepo. Having loved enough and lost enough, I am no longer searching just opening. No longer trying to make sense of pain, but trying to be a soft and sturdy home in which real things can land. These are the irritations that rub into a pearl. So we can talk a while, but then we must listen, the way rocks listen to the sea. And we can churn at all that goes wrong, but then we must lay all distractions down and water every living seed. And yes, on nights like tonight, I too feel alone. But seldom do I face it squarely enough to see that it is a door into the endless breath that has no breather, into the surf that human shells call God.
Please join us in singing Circle Round for Freedom.
We will now kindle our candles of care. Each time as we gather together as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and in our hearts, and who we want to wrap in our love and care. We kindled candles today for the family of Donna Borden Rhodes this morning, as well as those involved in the conflicts in the Ukraine and the Middle East and where else in the world. Let us share a moment in silence, embracing others who are here and here in our hearts and minds this morning. And you're welcome to say their names aloud as you are willing. Those named aloud, and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world at this hour, we hold in our community of compassion. The choir wants to go down. At this time, we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the larger world.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life you were for this moment to arise. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of a dark black night. Blackbird fly, oh blackbird fly into the light of a dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life you were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise.
I'd love to welcome any children to come forward for our Time for All Ages. I was a student for 20 years. First service I said 17, but I forgot all about pre-K and kindergarten. So I was a student for 20 years, and I was a teacher for 15 years. And March always has felt like a long month. If you're a student or a teacher, you know what's right around the corner. Spring break. So this is a poem for spring break. It's called Sick by Shel Silverstein. I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay. I have the measles and the mumps, a gash, a rash, and purple bumps. My mouth is wet, my throat is dry. I'm going blind in my right eye. My tonsils are as big as rocks. I've counted 16 chicken pox. And there's one more, that's 17. And don't you think my face looks green? My leg is cut, my eyes are blue. It might be instamatic flu. I cough and sneeze and gasp and choke. I'm sure that my left leg is broke. My hip hurts when I move my chin. My belly button's caving in. My back is wrenched, my ankle's sprained. My appendix pains each time it rains. My nose is cold, my toes are numb. I have a sliver in my thumb. My neck is stiff, my voice is weak. I hardly whisper when I speak. My tongue is filling up my mouth. I think my hair is falling out. My elbow's bent, my spine ain't straight. My temperature is 108. My brain is shrunk. I cannot hear. There's a hole inside my ear. I have a hangnail, and my heart is, what? What's that you say? You say today is Saturday? Oh, goodbye. I'm going out to play. Join me now in singing our children out to play.
I think I have half of those things when I get up to go to work in the morning. I'd like to welcome you now into a time of meditation. Welcome to a moment of tranquility and self-reflection. Close your eyes, Take a deep breath and let go of the chaos around you. Allow yourself to be present in this peaceful space, embracing stillness and inner calm. In this fast-paced world, carving out this time for yourself is a precious gift. Feel the tension melting away with each exhale. Embrace the serenity of this moment, letting go of worries and distractions. Be fully present in this space of tranquility, where your mind can find peace and your soul can rejuvenate. Let the gentle rhythm of your breath guide you deeper into this meditation, where clarity and inner calm await.
Can't you see how deep the bullet lies? Unaware I'm tearing you asunder. There is thunder in our hearts, baby. Is there so much hate for the ones we love? Oh, tell me we both matter, don't we? It's you. You and me won't be unhappy. And if I only could, I'd make a deal with God, and I'd get him to swap our places. We're running up that road, we're running up that hill, we're running up that building. And if I only could. Oh, come on, baby. Come on, darling. Let me steal this moment from you now. Come on, baby. Come on, darling. Let's exchange the experience. And if I only could, I'd make a deal with God, and I'd get him to swap our places. We'd be running up that road, we'd be running up that hill with no problems. Say if I only could, I'd make a deal with God to get him to swap our places. I'd be running up that road, I'll be running up that hill with no problems.
Thank you both. That's amazing work. Amazing. So, it is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this morning. Mery Smith is a devoted mother of 5, a poet, storyteller, artist, and addiction advocate. She's Spokane's 5th Poet Laureate, expanding poetry's reach into unconventional spaces such as jails, recovery centers, and youth groups. Mery is author of Crumbs, it's a 2021 chapbook. Her poems, Genesis 2:4 and Then God Rested from All the Work He Had Done, was nominated for a 2024 Pushcart Prize by Trestle Creek Review. Mery's work has been anthologized in Listen to Your Mother, What She Said Then and What We're Saying Now, and in Pivot and Pause. Mery was a featured artist in Pictures of Poets in 2023. So please join me now in welcoming Mery Smith.
Good morning, everybody. I got to sit through the music twice, so lucky me. I'm happy to be here with you all today. As was said, I was here earlier, and it's going to be a little bit of the same and a little bit different because I'm just here to speak from the heart this morning. So I guess I'll start with this, is that the reason I get to come and the reason I'm invited into places at all is because I'm sober today. My friend Paul invited me here, and I'm so happy he did. I love your church. It's gorgeous, and the people here are top notch, so friendly. But that idea that I would be asked to come somewhere when 16 years ago I was asked not to come. I was uninvited to lots of things because of my choices. I consider it a real honor and a privilege. I get to work with children a lot. You sang them out, and my heart just swelled. I have a real sweet place in my heart for youth poetry, and that's part of what I want to be doing in Spokane is this outreach that was mentioned about going into unconventional spaces. We are going into Airway Heights Correctional Facility to the prison, and we're going to provide an 8-week poetry workshop to 30 folks who are incarcerated there, and it's a real honor. And the other cool thing that we're doing is that we're creating the first ever youth poet laureate for Spokane. So once that information becomes available, I'd love to pass it on to you guys so we can spread the word. So I'm sober. I'm living a good life. I have been for the last 16 years. I have 4 beautiful children who've never seen their mom drink, which is a miracle, because I'm a blackout one. I'm the life of the party, and even after the party's dead and gone, I'm still there. So to be able to be present for their lives has been such a gift. I think originally I thought, man, I'll never get to be the things I really wanted to be because I'm a mom now, so I don't really get a vote anymore. I was very young when I started having kids, and it probably helped save my life, honestly. And I resented it too. I did. I wanted to go back to college, and I wanted to make a name for myself, and I wanted to be somebody. I was going to be Johnny Carson's replacement. And then I had a bunch of kids, and I had a child with special needs. My son Hobbs was born with Down syndrome. And then, he's got not such a good heart, and not such good eyesight, and not such good hearing, and he's on the spectrum, and we just got the poo-poo platter of things. And so I'm a caregiver to him as well as his mom, and there's a difference. And yeah, life just got so big and so wonderful, but it was a little bit of grieving that I went through, and in so much shame and so much silence around that, because the recovery community that I was in at the time, and the way that at least the way I perceived it, was that you should be grateful. You've got a beautiful life, you're sober, you've got 4 beautiful kids, nothing to complain about. And a lot of that was really true. What I love about poetry and words is that things can be true, and then other things can be true, and those can exist together. So often it does. What I found about mothering and caregiving and being sober allowed me to have the presence to witness these things, as I could bear witness to joy and sorrow and know that they come from the same place. If you are deeply carved out by grief, you are deeply carved by love. And that's been my whole experience around being Hobbs's mom. So about 8 years sober. I'm 16 years sober as of January 5th. About 8 years sober, it occurred to me, I was like, I think I could be sober and not married to that guy. But I wasn't sure. like Hobbes, I have my own poo-poo platter of things. So I was an alcoholic and an addict, but I was also addicted to people. And you made me okay. You tell me I'm okay, I'm okay. You tell me I'm pretty, I'm pretty. If you think I'm funny, I'm funny. But if you don't think well of me, I don't know what I think about myself. Looking out here for what's in here. And so I had that thing in me that says, this wonderful, man that I married, and he's good, and he holds the job down, and he's very responsible and a respectable member, and like I'm with him, so I'm okay by proxy. And that 8-year journey to my 13th year sobriety, where I got to know myself a little bit. My sponsor, I have a sponsor in a recovery circle. She said, "So, what are you doing today? What are you doing for fun?" I said, I'm going to a recovery meeting. And she said, "Oh, honey, get a life." And she was right. I didn't have a life. My whole life was centered around being sober and being a mom. And I was kind of miserable. Like I mentioned, that resentment. I was starting to resent recovery. I was starting to resent being a mom. I felt pretty confined and trapped by these things that people told me were good enough. They were enough. And wanting and desire was villainized, shameful. Don't talk about it in meetings. It does not make you popular. And but it was what was true for me. And so I did eventually find that I could tell the truth, and there was still shame around it, but I shared it anyways, and people loved me anyways. And I told the truth of myself, which was that I wanted more. I desired more than just being sober and just being somebody's mom. And I wanted to be more than somebody's wife. I wanted a life of color. I wanted it all. And I didn't think that made me bad. I just thought it made me a person. And at about 13 years sober, I remember thinking, I want out. I'm done. I did not get sober for this. Because if you've ever gotten sober, let me tell you something, it is not fun. The first year is rough. It is everybody's birthday, everybody's wedding, all the funerals, baby showers, all that stuff, and you are stone cold sober for the very first time, fully present in your body, which means you're sitting with your pain. You're making friends with your grief. You're making friends with the fact that I didn't really even know myself very well, and how embarrassing that was for me to be like a full-blown adult in a life in which I didn't feel like I really had anything to do with. It had all kind of happened to me up until that point. And so I told the truth over and over again, because that is what I learned how to do in recovery. And it saved my life. Telling the truth has saved my life. I found you can stay sober and stay alive just on the truth alone, without even having a bunch of skills yet, not even having a bunch of tools in your toolbox yet. But if you're willing to tell the truth, my experience is the rest will come, the way will show. So I wrote poems for fun. I read poems for joy. I read fiction, like made-up stories, for fun. And up until that point, all I did was read and write to stay sober, to stay alive. It was very serious, okay? There was no fun. And I would get up at the same way every day. I have my stack of books. This is what we read to stay sober. This is what we read to connect to God. These are the things that we write down so that we're not bad. And it was all about being good. And when my sponsor told me to get a life, I joined a book club. and they read made-up stories. And they met weekly and had snacks and conversated. I hated it. I hated it. There was no script that we were reading off of, where like you share and everyone be quiet and then that person shares. It wasn't like a meeting. There were no rules. It was totally lawless. And the stories were wonderful, but God, I was afraid of that imagination. That was the thing that I thought hurt me the last time. That's what got me drunk and away from God and away from my fellows, was my wild, untamed self. And I was so afraid to let that part of me out again. I thought it was going to hurt me, and I thought it was going to hurt the people I loved, and I didn't want to hurt anybody anymore. I was so sick and tired of hurting people. And I wish I could tell you that I didn't hurt anybody, but I have. I definitely have hurt people. I've had to allow myself to be the villain of other people's stories so that I could be the hero of my own. And poetry absolutely ruined my life and recreated a life that I'd never even dared to imagine for myself. I was sitting actually in an AA meeting one night, and I sat next to my friend, and I just said, man, it's too bad. Really wanted to be a poet, but, I'm a mom. And he said, God, I just wonder if you couldn't be both. I was like, what? That's crazy. And that's that power, right? Both and. At that point, I took a class from the then poet laureate, Mark Anderson, and I sat around in this little room, and there were all these students in there, people with MFAs and all sorts of fancy letters behind their name, and I was like, I don't belong here. I wipe butts for a living. I'm a mom. And I showed up week after week, and I had this little thing in me, this little knowing, okay, this is it. This is closer to that thing. And to describe it is almost like the disservice to try and describe it. It's like that poem I read in the beginning. What human shells call God, like the breather that has no end. There was this thing in me that I couldn't quite put my finger on. I went to 1,000 meetings. I went to yoga. I slept 8 hours a night. I did community service. I was doing all the good, right things. How come I didn't feel better? What's missing? I've got all the boxes checked. And so, going back to this idea that I had an imagination and I had a creativity and I had a relationship with some sort of inner landscape in me. And I'd always loved words. I'd always been a writer. But again, I was terrified. And in between, I was chatting with some folks, and I want to make this connection very clear. I don't do poetry and art in lieu of the things that help keep me sober. I do them in addition to. I've got a big, beautiful life built on some real concrete things that are non-negotiables for me. Disciplines that I'm entirely grateful for and that I absolutely needed in the beginning of my journey. I needed to not, be unsupervised. I needed some years of sobriety under my belt, and to be able to look for the evidence in my life and say, I can trust myself. I can listen to myself. I believe and trust the person that brought me here. And then I started making my own workshops, and people started showing up. And no one had told me, you can do that. Yes, you can open up a workshop. I just did it. And it was thrilling. And people like me found me. And we would get together in this beautiful yurt over here on 8th Street, the Heart Space Yurt. And we'd read and write and discuss poems together. And the magic unfolded then and there. And I think the magic is, don't look away. Keep looking. And the bearing witness to joy, the bearing witness to pain, the bearing witness to all of it, has given me like the wherewithal to where I believe everyone is creative. I believe everyone's story matters. We might tell it in different ways, right? We've got piano players and singers and crocheters and chefs and woodworkers and engineers, and those are all ways in which we tell stories, and they're all wonderful, they're all beautiful and to be celebrated. So just to say, I'm doing this for a couple years, okay, and this all feels well and fine, and it's kind of working, but my life is starting to crumble a little bit because I don't start to make sense in the places that I've made sense to, the people I've always made sense to. I started to change, and people don't like that. They want you to stay the same. They really like that. And I evolved, and I wanted to put my name onto poems that made people uncomfortable. And I've had to make peace with that, and I have. But life is about paying attention. That's what poetry is about paying attention to what's happening around us, and that means we look at the hard and we say, that's hard. We look at the hurt and we say, that hurts. And I don't know about any of you, but where I grew up and came from, if I said, that's blue, they were like, red. It's red. It's absolutely red. Shame on you. So that thing in me that says, like, this is the thing that hurts, or this is the place I went, it's a duty. I think poetry is a duty that I have, and something that I've come into sharing and come into knowing is that we are all wanting to belong. We all want to belong to each other. It's like what I felt when I very first came into an AA meeting. I was like, oh, I finally belong here. And that was the only place I belonged for a very long time. And when I came into poetry, I didn't think I belonged there. I thought it was for kind of elitists, the Ivy League college folks. I was like, this is like the gated community of arts, and I'm like the chimney sweep. I'm the help, guys. And then I applied for the Poet Laureate position because I looked on their list of like qualifications, and nowhere in there did it say MFA. So I was like, okay, I'm doing it. And in a lot of other ways, I did qualify because I was just being what I wanted to see in the world. What I needed, I started making. And I didn't get that idea on my own, of course. I have a lot of wonderful, lovely people in my life that remind me, if it doesn't exist, you got to make it. Somebody else might need it. So I started making these workshops, bringing them into Crosswalk Youth Shelter, bringing them into elementary schools where we would, read banned authors like Shel Silverstein. And then they did pick me. They picked me to be Poet Laureate, and what a gift. What a gift. I was given the Poet Laureate position at the same time that I was given divorce papers. And that feeling that my voice mattered. Was such a gift. And then I wanted to honor somebody who made me love words, which is my brother Adrian. And I'm going to read you a poem in a moment that I wrote about him for him, but AG was the one who made me love words so much, and he died 2 years ago of a fentanyl overdose. And that week, the week that he passed away, AG was writing me poems from Chelan County Jail. He was writing me song lyrics. He was writing me and telling me about dreams he had, businesses he wanted to start. To say, like, the human spirit is so incredible that you could be at once dying and at once living. And so I wanted to honor AG with this poet laureate, and that's why I'm going into Airway Heights, because that's somebody's brother, you know? And I want to go in there and I want to teach poetry, and I want to read their poetry. And publishing work is wonderful. Having a poem nominated last year was the honor. It was such an honor. I never thought in a million years that I would have these successes around something that felt so foreign, so out of reach for someone like me. But it wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. I wanted to actually help people. I wanted to have poetry work harder for us, that it would offer actual human, real-life aid, that we would actually sit across from people and say, tell me, read me your poem. And I get to do that today, and it's beyond me. It is beyond me. Last year, or 2024, I was invited to commission a poem for the YWCA for their Women of Achievement. And off of Luba's suggestion, I'm going to read a few more poems than I read in the last service. So this is a poem inspired by Andrea Gibson's poem. This is called Women Budding. Darling buds daring to bloom against the odds, winter's late frost and early teeth biting. It seems all at once a bloom, something recognizable, a symbol of what happens with all good growth, time and light. Curled into ourselves a haven, a hope for what is to come. Every woman here had to believe in life after dark. Women budding into space, 665 days into the Supreme Court, 9,861 days onto Major League Baseball fields, 1,490 days, and that is just the flashy news. Women budding while cheering on other sprouts, while we worked to feed and house ourselves, while we hadn't a clue what came next. At times, it was only bright green faith, unsure but scrappy. Buds which came to us as seeds now bear fruit. A life made precious and delicious, all deep red. Stronger under the sun, we named our flower Lean on Your Sister, wrote the instructions for sowing, reach for that which is yours, let sunshine in, a divine timing. Applaud your every turn, because blooming can be frightening. Rest. Come spring, come new earth smell in our hair and nails, come what may, we'll be ready. Welcome our fears like friends of fertilizer. What comes to us will always grow. What's ripe or rot, we'll always know. Trusted tangles in this ecosystem we call home. Come rain, come aphids, come morning dew, come prudence, come mothers, come advocates too, budding women, come see what grew. While you thought you were sleeping, a new and wonderful, beautiful you. Thanks. Thank you. Yes, I'm going to do my brothers right now. So this is a poem I wrote in honor of my brother Adrian, and highly recommend writing poems when you're grieving. This is called Winged Now. Butterflies on cue, that's how you come to me now, with the music up, full blast, your seal-like laugh. Remember you on one knee, reciting poetry to the girl with citrine eyes. Now I run towards you, reaching out to grasp at the ghost of an invisible disease. How much for these teeth? How much for these teeth? But I cannot afford them. Now winged, your dentin is exalted. I am reaching out to save what is left of your reputation. What became of you was not the way that I remember you. At night, reaching down from your top bunk to pop the small pockets of air from in between my toes, just because. A gesture, all our own. On Friday nights, some girl in the back seat, I rode shotgun as we played our favorite song. You whistled along. I'd always be your number one. If God is, well, then God is someplace that's safe, met with crooks and forgotten poets. And you are there now, running. Thank you.
I think we'll just skip the last song. Unless you really want to do it real quick? Okay. Sure. All right, you want to do it. There you go. Actually, everybody knows this song. So, should we ask everybody to close their eyes and not look at the screen because they know it?
You don't have to.
Okay, all right, don't do that. All right.
All right.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Very good. Our closing words today are from Gilda Radner. I wanted a perfect ending. Now I've learned the hard way that some poems don't rhyme, and some stories don't have a clear beginning, middle, and end. Life is about not knowing, having to change, taking the moment and making the best of it, without knowing what's going to happen next time. Delicious ambiguity. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom. Shalom Haverim Shalom.